If you have been looking for a new 4X space strategy game to sink your teeth in this fall, Galactic Civilizations IV might just be the game for you, especially now that the vastly superior Supernova Edition has finally made it to Steam. Now this is a series with a long history, and for good reason. Its core foundations are sound, harkening back to the glory days of RTS in a way every player will recognize, while adding a ton of cool sci-fi features. And thanks to Stardock Entertainment for sponsoring this video, I've been able to dig my teeth into this brand new version of the game, and let's get right into it. Galactic Civilizations IV is a grand space strategy game, but even though there's a lot here, there's little reason to feel afraid. Any space game in this genre is bound to be compared to Paradox's Stellaris after all, and compared to the time and effort to learn that game, Galactic Civilizations is a lot more forgiving and approachable without losing its depth, meaning you don't really have to invest hours and hours to become comfortable with it. And here's why. Right from the get-go, the game provides you with a few tools to work with, like your home planet, a ship constructor, a probe ship, and a survey ship. Even though you should probably manually build something on your planet and start making ships, you can actually automate your surveying of the galaxy and of its exploration. And while this can sound like cheating, it's actually not. You see, this galaxy is big, but Galactic Civilizations does something very neat and cool here. Every playthrough begins in your very own home galaxy, and it's smaller or bigger depending on your preferred settings before beginning the game, with a varying amount of stars and planets inhabiting it. It will take a while discovering the entirety of your home system though, but the universe is actually much larger than this. With multiple galaxies enabled, from 2 to many more, you'll discover these over time and can travel to them through special hyperlanes that connect them. This is actually a really great system, because believe it or not, entire individual galaxies are seamlessly open, meaning everything happens on the same screen at all times. Each planet belongs to a system, but these systems all exist seamlessly in the same galaxy. And further, even though each galaxy is separated by hyperlanes, they work essentially in the same way, in that they're all visible and playable in the same space, so to speak. This means that Galactic Civilizations IV comes across as a lot more user-friendly and easy to pick up and learn than some of the other sci-fi strategy games in this genre. And it also makes the game feel a lot more interconnected because of it. Speaking of easy to learn, the user interface is a major reason why you'll quickly get the hang of things. Most of the game's mechanics can be reached directly from the bottom side of the screen, and each of them opens up a different window into aspects of governing your space empire. Here you can manage your empire's laws and policies, include civilization-wide tax rates, and the important policies ranging from a wide variety of topics, depending on which aspect you deem the most important. You can even enable more of these as time goes on, or swap them in and out depending on your current situation and needs. The next tab deals with leaders, and this is one I'm particularly fond of. You see, leaders can be recruited and sent to govern various parts of state, be it as ministers in your government, to promote your aims, governors of a planet, admirals for a particularly powerful ship, aiding various factions within the realm, being diplomats to other factions, and even as representatives in various movements within the empire. And kinda like ministers, to promote your agenda from the ground up. Leaders do cost gold to recruit for the most part though, so they're very valuable when used correctly. And using them correctly is the main factor here, because every leader is different. Not only does each and every one come with a unique little backstory which may or may not be hilariously tragic, but their loyalty towards you varies depending on your policies, and so do their skills, meaning you better put a strong military mind in charge of military branches of government. Cultural progress is another major aspect of Galactic Civilizations IV, which is able to propel you forward into the universe. Cultural progress is essentially about major cultural innovations, which again take many forms depending on what you wish to do with your empire. Innovations range from open societies to authoritarian ones, and so on and so forth. As cultural progress points is developed slowly over time or with events, it's important to think about where you're spending your points, as the bonuses you'll receive can really help you out if spent correctly. This branch really takes the empire on the path you want it to, and just like with the policies and leader screen, this one sports large icons and images which really aid in Galactic Civilizations IV's aim of being approachable and easily readable. Most actions in the game demands a few turns to complete, whether we're expanding our buildings or our major planets, or sieging down on enemies. But by researching new technology, which of course happens to be another major part of this game, you can at various points, and depending on your amount of control points, enact certain immediate actions which can have significant consequences, although always at a cost. Need a quick overview of a section of a galaxy? Use Telescope Takeover and get that information. Need a colony ship to quick start expansion? Draft some colonists at the cost of a bit of happiness. Or if you're low on cash, you can always encourage some generosity from your citizens and pillage the weak, which will make your purse heavier, but definitely make your citizens like you less. All of these so-called executive orders can and should be used for maximum effect, and as such, encourages thoughtful manipulation and timing. Governing your empire through these means are of course vitally important and all well and good, but the main way to expand and play is of course directly in front of us, namely by moving our ships around and actually doing all that 4x goodness. As mentioned in the beginning, surveying anomalies and exploring the galaxy is extremely important, since this is how you happen upon new resources and innovations, while also finding out what's actually waiting for you out in space. Planets must of course be colonized, not just for the planets themselves, which can be more or less important, but for the resources surrounding them, whether massive deposits or mining asteroids. Now there is an untold number of planets in this game depending on the size of your universe, but once again does the game do its best to keep things as easy as possible to manage. Depending on the level of your world, meaning how inhabitable or rich in minerals it is, each planet may become either core worlds or remain colonies. This simplifies a whole lot, as colony worlds do not demand the same amount of management as core worlds do. Because while the colonies are mostly for resource extraction or a show of your influence and might, core worlds are where you build your industry, civilization, and for the most part increase your population. Expansion is obviously important to make it in this game, but since colony worlds can still net you massive resource gains and influence throughout the galaxy, you can actually still play tall because you never really need a ton of core worlds to make it big. But if you do make it big, you can still easily track your various worlds, fleets, and everything else in the top right corner. And the same goes for technology, by the way, which has some very nice overview screens where you can see every available technology and the paths leading to them. Influence, by the way, is a measure of your faction's planet's power in the galaxy and will inevitably crash with the influence of other factions. This means that if your planets end up within the influence spheres of others, your people can begin to feel culturally aligned with them and may just revolt and become a part of this enemy empire. This is why influence can end up becoming just as important as military might, even though it's never bad to have a strong navy too. In fact, if you wish to go on the offensive and keep others from threatening you before it's too late, that's just a viable tactic. In fact, once I decided upon my first enemy, the true tactical game behind Galactic Civilizations opened up to me, and I think both the turn-based and open galaxy aspects really helped here. You see, because each system connects with others, the entire universe begins to look like one giant battlefield instead of hundreds of different ones, meaning careful navigation and recruitment becomes an important part of warfare. I love that ship battles can actually be watched on the battlefield, so to speak, but you need to recruit a variety of warships and upgrade them if you want to fully succeed. Sieging a planet requires that you first take out a possible garrison fleet and defenses before you send in your siege fleet, which may take months to bombard the enemy into surrender. Of course, due to the game's influence system, planets you've conquered may just be lost again shortly after, since the local population may revolt against you and return to their former masters. In all of this, I think the AI does a really good job of dealing with the player. Whether in warfare, where it manages to take you off guard, or in diplomacy, where it's actually surprisingly good at offering mutually beneficial trade deals, there have been no moments where I've scratched my head at weird choices here, and that is a really good selling point for a game where you're going to come up against the AI non-stop. I also have to give a shout out to how charming this game looks. From the simplicity of zooming all the way in to all the way out and seeing these colors and icons pop, to the nicely almost cel-shaded ships and starbases, Galactic Civilization IV has a unique look to it and differentiates itself enough from the other space games out there that you really notice it. But what really sets this game's initial setup apart is the very interestingly named Alien GPT. This is essentially an AI faction creator, where you're able to give a hint on what faction you'd like to make, after which the AI creates a faction based on your description. It even offers various assets you can use to create a new faction leader and faction portraits, meaning you really can create the faction of your choice here, from a warmongering Picard-like humanity to an empire led by kittens. Indeed, you really can make this game as deep or as arcadey and fast-paced as you like, with the many campaign options, allowing galaxies to be small, and diplomatic options to be limited, or to create utterly massive universes with tough-as-nails AI opponents that will truly test your strategic and tactical abilities. You can even upload your own PNGs and images to the game's folder, meaning it's super easy to make factions appear as you want them to. The same goes for in-game, where it's possible to design ships either by changing out their weapons and defensive systems, or change how they look entirely. In the end, Galactic Civilizations IV Supernova is a deep, yet easy to approach sci-fi strategy game that becomes more and more addicting the more you play and understand its full potential. If you feel like the 4X space strategy genre has been needing a shakeup, you have a really great contender here, especially if you want to jump into a massive game with a friend in multiplayer and conquer the galaxy together as partners or as bitter enemies. Galactic Civilizations IV Supernova Edition is finally available now on Steam, so make sure to follow my link in the description and check it out. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, thank you so much to Stardog Entertainment for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!